On the morning of March 22nd, 2019, Karen Doyle was found dead in her home at 543 Birch Avenue, located in the tranquil suburb of Greenfield, Ohio. According to the initial call logged by Greenfield Police Department dispatch at exactly 8:35 in the morning, the discovery was made by Mrs. Doyle's 13-year-old son, Ethan Doyle, upon returning home from a sleepover at a friend's house. Immediately, Ethan contacted the neighbors, the Howards, who then notified authorities, initiating case file 2019-GF117. Officers James Furlong and Mariah Bates arrived at the scene within 10 minutes of the call, their patrol car rolling to a stop at 8:47 a.m. The exterior of the Doyle residence presented no signs of forced entry, a detail noted in the officers' initial assessment. The front door was found ajar. Inside, Karen Doyle's body lay in the living room adjacent to an overturned coffee table. The coroner's report, later filed by Dr. Lin Nguyen, indicated signs of blunt force trauma to the head, leading to immediate unconsciousness and subsequent death. The estimated time of death was placed between 1 and 3 a.m., based on the lividity and body temperature. Detective Walter Hendricks, assigned lead investigator, arrived shortly after 9 in the morning with crime scene technician Samantha Perez. According to Hendricks, in an interview given to the Greenfield Herald on April the 3rd, the house was in a state of disarray consistent with a struggle, yet no items of significant value appeared to be missing. Mrs. Doyle's phone was found on the kitchen counter with the last activity recorded at 10:15 p.m. the previous night, a text to her sister, Jennifer Lane, confirming a lunch date the following week. By mid-morning, the neighborhood was cordoned off, with yellow police tape fluttering in the spring breeze as officers canvassed the area. Door-to-door inquiries were made. Mr. Richard Howard, a next-door neighbor, stated in his deposition that he heard what sounded like a loud thud around 11:30 p.m., but assuming it was the wind or a neighborhood animal, he dismissed it. No other neighbors reported hearing or seeing anything unusual that night. As the investigation unfolded, Detective Hendricks held a press conference at Greenfield Police Headquarters on March 24th. He confirmed that, as of that date, there were no suspects and urged anyone with information to come forward. The tip line, set up immediately following the press conference, received 62 calls within the first 24 hours, none leading to substantial evidence. The autopsy report, finalized by Dr. Nguyen on March 29th, revealed additional bruising on Mrs. Doyle's arms and chest, suggesting she had attempted to defend herself against her attacker. Toxicology reports found no trace of alcohol or drugs in her system. The coroner noted the absence of defensive wounds indicative of self-defense, which suggested the attack was swift and unexpected. On April the 2nd, Greenfield Police Department enlisted the assistance of the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. Special Agent Karen Lee was brought in to provide expertise in unsolved homicide cases. In a briefing with Detective Hendricks, Agent Lee emphasized the necessity of reconstructing Mrs. Doyle's last known movements and interactions. CCTV footage from nearby businesses was reviewed, but none placed Karen Doyle outside of her home after 6 in the evening on March 21st. Family and friends described Mrs. Doyle, a 42-year-old mother of 2 and a part-time librarian, as well-liked and without known enemies. Interviews with her family, including her sister Jennifer and estranged husband Michael Doyle, yielded no information suggesting anyone who might have wished her harm. Michael, who lived in Cincinnati and was reportedly there the night of Karen's death, provided a solid alibi corroborated by a hotel receipt and security footage. The lack of physical evidence complicated the investigation. Despite a thorough search, neither fingerprints nor DNA evidence was recovered from the scene that could be tied to an intruder. Detective Hendricks, in an internal report, remarked that the scene was unusually clean, suggesting premeditation and a degree of forensic awareness by the perpetrator. 3 weeks after the murder, on April the 12th, the Greenfield Gazette published an article questioning the progress of the investigation, highlighting community frustration. Detective Hendricks responded in an interview, reiterating that all leads were being pursued and that the case remained a priority. As the investigation continued, the community of Greenfield remained on edge. The unsolved nature of Karen Doyle's murder left a shadow over the town, fueling both rumor and speculation. The lack of suspects or clear motive only deepened the mystery surrounding her death. Friends and family were left grappling with unanswered questions as the investigation moved into its second month. Despite the best efforts of local law enforcement, led by Detective Hendricks and supported by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, Karen Doyle's murder remained unsolved. The search for justice continued. According to the Greenfield Police Department's investigation, the last known sighting of Karen Doyle was on March 24, 2019, captured by a CCTV camera at a convenience store located on the corner of Maple Street and Route 42 in Greenfield, Ohio. The time-stamped footage shows Karen wearing a blue denim jacket over a red t-shirt and carrying a canvas tote bag, entering the store at approximately 5 in the afternoon. She purchased a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread before leaving. The cashier, a 17-year-old named Aaron Mitchell, later told police that Karen seemed in good spirits, casually chatting about the unseasonably warm weather as she paid for her items. This was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. In the days following her disappearance, Ethan Doyle, Karen's husband, reported to police that his wife had no known enemies and had not mentioned feeling threatened or in danger. Nevertheless, detectives sought to explore every aspect of Karen's life, interviewing close acquaintances and family members, as well as examining her personal effects for any leads. Her cell phone, which was found at the scene, offered some clues. The records, retrieved by Detective Allison Mills, revealed a series of text messages exchanged with a person named LJ on the day of her disappearance. According to Detective Mills, this individual was later identified as Leah Johnson, a casual acquaintance of Karen's. Leah Johnson, when questioned by police, claimed that she had met Karen at a local book club several months prior. During her interview, Johnson explained that she and Karen occasionally exchanged messages about book recommendations and local events, but insisted she had not seen Karen in person for more than 2 weeks. The detectives, unable to corroborate any deeper connection between the two, considered Leah Johnson a person of interest, but did not label her a suspect. Further examination of Karen Doyle's banking activity revealed a withdrawal of $20 made from an ATM at the Greenfield Community Bank on March 22, 2019, the same day she was last seen at the convenience store. Detective Mills noted that the bank's surveillance footage was inconclusive, showing only an indistinct figure whose face was obscured by the ATM's angle. There were no other suspicious transactions on her account, adding another dead end to the investigation. In the course of their investigation, detectives also spoke with several of Karen's co-workers at the Greenfield Public Library, where she had been a part-time librarian for over 5 years. Martha Lincoln, a colleague who was close to Karen, recalled a conversation they had over lunch on March 20th, where Karen expressed concern about a recurring issue with a library patron. According to Lincoln, the patron, whose identity was protected due to privacy policies, often lingered near the library's entrance, sometimes making Karen feel uneasy. Despite this, no formal complaints had been filed, and police were unable to substantiate any direct link between this patron and Karen's disappearance. The coroner's report, released on April 3, 2019, confirmed that Karen Doyle's time of death was estimated between 9 and 11 in the evening on March 24, 2019. The report, prepared by Dr. Jennifer Connolly of the Greenfield County Coroner's Office, indicated the cause of death was ligature strangulation with no signs of defensive wounds typically associated with a struggle. Toxicology screens performed during the autopsy found no traces of drugs or alcohol in Karen's system. This was classified as a homicide, but no further forensic evidence, such as DNA or fingerprints, was found at the scene beyond those of Karen and her immediate family. The Greenfield Gazette reported that the Greenfield Police Department established a tip line shortly after the case became public, receiving over 60 calls in the first week alone. However, many of these tips, according to Detective Mills, led nowhere, with some providing vague or misleading information. Despite their efforts, no significant breakthroughs emerged from these leads. Subsequent attempts to trace the origin of the ligature used in the murder were also unfruitful. The material, a common type of nylon rope, was not linked to any recent local purchases, making it difficult to determine its source or significance. Without clear evidence or witnesses, the investigation found itself at a standstill by early May. As the investigation unfolded, the media's coverage of the case wavered between underreporting and sensationalism. The Greenfield Guardian, a local news outlet, published a series of articles highlighting the lack of progress in the case, questioning the efficacy of the Greenfield Police Department's investigative strategies. This prompted a response from Police Chief Harold Lawson, who assured the public in a press conference that all available resources were being utilized in the pursuit of justice for Karen Doyle. The frustration among Karen's family and friends grew as the weeks turned into months. Michael Doyle, Karen's brother, organized a candlelight vigil attended by over 200 community members on May 6, 2019, to honor her memory and to draw attention to the unresolved case. During the vigil, Michael addressed the crowd, urging anyone with information to come forward and reminding the community of Karen's love for her family and her dedication to her work at the library. Despite these efforts, the mystery surrounding the murder of Karen Doyle remains unsolved. Each new piece of information seems to deepen the complexity of the case, leaving investigators and the community searching for answers. The investigation continues, with the hope that new developments will one day provide closure to those left behind. The forensic analysis of the Doyle residence commenced on March 25, 2019, at precisely 8:30 in the morning. Detective Alison Mills led the team from the Greenfield Police Department, supported by forensic specialists from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. The focus was the single-story brick house located at 543 Birch Avenue, which was sealed off with yellow police tape, a stark reminder of the investigation's gravity. The living room, where Karen Doyle's body was discovered, was the initial point of interest. According to Detective Mills' report, the room bore no immediate signs of forced entry or struggle. The autopsy later confirmed that Mrs. Doyle had suffered blunt force trauma to the back of her head, consistent with an object found at the scene. A ceramic vase, broken into multiple pieces, lay scattered on the floor. Its fragments were collected, bagged, and sent for fingerprint analysis. The forensic team meticulously documented the residence, capturing over 200 photographs. Each room was dusted for fingerprints, with particular emphasis on the door handles and light switches. The presence of latent prints was noted, although subsequent analysis would reveal them to be primarily those of Mrs. Doyle and her immediate family members. However, an unidentified set of prints was discovered on the back door handle, raising questions about recent visitors to the residence. In the kitchen, a glass of water sat unattended on the countertop, later tested for any foreign substances. The toxicology report, filed on March 29, 2019, confirmed no presence of drugs or poisons in the glass. On the kitchen table, a grocery list, handwritten by Mrs. Doyle, was found, containing mundane items such as milk, bread, and eggs, suggesting no immediate disruption to her daily routine. The master bedroom revealed more pertinent clues. A drawer in the bedside table was found slightly ajar, its contents disturbed. Within, Detective Mills found a small locked box, later determined to contain various pieces of jewelry, all accounted for, which ruled out robbery as a primary motive. A closer examination of the bed revealed a single strand of long dark hair, which did not match Mrs. Doyle's blonde hair. This was sent for DNA analysis in hopes of identifying a possible suspect. Outside, the forensic team worked systematically across the yard. Cadaver dogs were brought in to search the premises, but found no additional evidence. A pair of men's size 10 footprints were discovered, leading away from the back of the house toward the adjacent woods. This detail was crucial, as neither Ethan Doyle nor Michael Doyle, Karen's sons, wore that shoe size. The search expanded into the surrounding neighborhood. Interviews were conducted with residents along Birch Avenue. Several neighbors reported seeing an unfamiliar vehicle parked near the Doyle home around 10 o'clock in the evening on March 24, 2019. Descriptions varied, but consensus pointed to a dark sedan, possibly a late-model Ford. A check of local surveillance cameras by Greenfield's traffic department yielded footage of a vehicle matching that description. though the license plate was not visible. As the investigation continued, the digital trail left by Mrs. Doyle provided additional lines of inquiry. Her mobile phone, found in the living room, was examined by forensic analysts. The last call made was to her sister, Ann Carter, at approximately 7:30 in the evening on March 24, 2019. According to Mrs. Carter, the conversation was routine, with no indication of distress. Text messages retrieved from the device revealed an exchange with an unknown number that ceased abruptly on the same day. The messages, while casual in tone, hinted at a meeting planned that evening. The burner phone used to send these messages could not be traced, adding another layer of complexity to the case. In an interview with the Greenfield Gazette on April 10, 2019, Detective Mills stated, "We are pursuing all leads vigorously, and we encourage anyone with information to come forward." The Greenfield Police Department set up a dedicated tip line, which received over 100 calls in the first 72 hours, although none provided a breakthrough. The investigation also examined the financial aspects of Mrs. Doyle's life. Her bank records from the Greenfield Community Bank were scrutinized for any irregular transactions. On March 20, 2019, a withdrawal of $500 was made from an ATM on Maple Street. Surveillance footage captured Mrs. Doyle making the transaction alone, with no apparent cause for concern. As the weeks progressed, the community's initial fervor began to wane, but the case remained active within the Greenfield Police Department. The forensic evidence, while detailed, presented a puzzle with missing pieces. Detective Mills and her team continued to sift through the evidence, searching for connections that might lead to the identity of the perpetrator. On May 15, 2019, the Greenfield Police Department held a press conference to provide an update. Police Chief Harold Lawson reiterated the department's commitment to solving the case, asserting, "We owe it to Karen Doyle and her family to find the truth." Despite the passage of time, the investigation remained open, driven by the hope that even the smallest piece of evidence could unravel the mystery surrounding Karen Doyle's untimely death. The forensic analysis of the Doyle residence highlighted numerous potential leads, yet none converged to form a clear path to resolution. With new questions emerging at every turn, the case of Karen Doyle remained an enigma, leaving both investigators and the community searching for answers. According to Greenfield Police Department records, the initial persons of interest in the investigation of Karen Doyle's murder were identified in the days following the discovery of her body. Detective Allison Mills, leading the investigation, prioritized interviews with individuals closest to Karen and those who had recent contact with her. On March 26th, 2 days after the body was discovered, the focus began on confirming alibis for these individuals as a crucial step in the investigation. Ethan Doyle, Karen's estranged husband, was one of the first individuals contacted. Ethan had a documented history of domestic disputes with Karen, but no legal charges were ever filed. During a voluntary interview conducted on March 27th at the Greenfield Police Department, Ethan stated that he was in Columbus, Ohio, on the day of Karen's disappearance, visiting his sister, Emily Doyle. He provided receipts from a Columbus gas station dated March 24th, as well as a time-stamped parking garage ticket from downtown Columbus. Detective Mills then contacted Emily Doyle to verify Ethan's alibi. Emily confirmed that Ethan had spent the day with her, from late morning until early evening, and had left Columbus just after 6 in the evening. This timeline was corroborated by a neighbor who reported seeing Ethan's car parked outside Emily's apartment complex on March 24th. Another individual of interest included James Furlong, a close friend of Karen's who reportedly had spent significant time with her during the weeks leading up to her death. In an interview on March 28th, James stated he was hosting a small gathering at his home in Greenfield, Ohio, on the evening of March 24th. 3 attendees, including a mutual friend, Maria Bates, verified his presence at the gathering. Detective Mills requested security footage from neighboring homes to further substantiate James's whereabouts. Attention then turned to Karen's co-worker, Walter Hendricks, who was reportedly the last person to see her alive at the Greenfield Community Bank on the afternoon of March the 24th. Walter was interviewed on March 29th and provided details of their last conversation regarding a routine bank matter. Walter stated he left the bank at his usual departure time, 5:15 in the evening, and went directly home. Phone records showed no communication between Walter and Karen after that date. Samantha Perez, a neighbor living 2 houses away from the Doyle residence, reported seeing an unfamiliar dark sedan parked near Karen's home on the night of March the 24th. This statement aligned with surveillance footage retrieved from Ann Carter's home on Birch Avenue. The footage, though grainy, showed a dark vehicle passing the Doyle residence at approximately 8:30 that night. However, the vehicle could not be conclusively connected to anyone in Karen's known circle. On April 1st, Detective Mills interviewed Jennifer Lane, a close friend of Karen's who often visited the Doyle residence. Jennifer mentioned a recent conversation with Karen in which Karen expressed concerns about being followed. Jennifer recalled that Karen had seemed unusually anxious, claiming she noticed an unknown person watching her during her evening jogs around Birch Avenue. Detective Mills added this information to the growing list of peculiar occurrences surrounding Karen's life before her death. The toxicology report, completed by April 3rd, showed no presence of drugs or alcohol in Karen's system, contradicting earlier speculation of potential substance involvement. Karen's phone records, obtained by a warrant on April 5th, revealed a series of text exchanges with a contact saved as MK. These messages, spanning several weeks before her murder, revolved around plans to meet at a location referred to only as the spot. Attempts to trace this enigmatic MK contact led to a prepaid phone number with no registered owner, stalling further leads in this direction. On April 8th, authorities interviewed Richard Howard, a local handyman who occasionally did work at the Doyle residence. Richard stated that his last visit to Karen's home was on March 18th for routine maintenance, and he had not seen or heard from her since. His statement was supported by an invoice submitted to Karen on the same date, detailing the work performed. Throughout the investigation, the Greenfield Police Department received over 200 tips via the anonymous hotline set up for this case. Among these, a call on April 10th stood out, presenting a possible connection between Karen and a local business owner, Harrison McGill, who ran a pawn shop nearby. Karen's jewelry, found missing from her home, raised questions about whether it could have been sold without her consent. Detective Mills arranged a meeting with Harrison on April the 12th, but he denied any transactions involving Karen's possessions, producing records of compliance inspections as proof. Despite exhaustive efforts to verify alibis and track down leads, investigators remained without a clear suspect. The Greenfield Gazette continued to cover the case extensively, with journalists such as Leah Johnson publishing detailed articles on the ongoing investigation. Public interest in the case grew steadily, yet the mystery of Karen Doyle's murder persisted, leaving the community and authorities grasping at unanswered questions and enduring uncertainties. On the evening of March 25, 2019, just after the police cordoned off the crime scene, at 543 Birch Avenue, Greenfield Police Department began canvassing the neighborhood for eyewitness accounts. Several residents reported unusual occurrences, but the details varied significantly. Across the street from the Doyle residence, Margaret Hennessy, a 72-year-old retiree, stated in her interview on March the 26th that she had observed a dark sedan parked outside the Doyles' home for over an hour on the night of March the 24th. She described the vehicle as a dark blue or black four-door model, but could not recall the make or the license plate. Hennessy also mentioned seeing a tall man wearing a dark hoodie entering the house at around 8 in the evening. According to her statement, the man stayed inside for approximately 30 minutes before leaving in the sedan. Contrasting details emerged in the testimony of Thomas Greer, who lived 2 doors down. Interviewed on March 27th, Greer reported seeing a similar sedan on Birch Avenue, but claimed it was a lighter color, possibly gray. His account also differed regarding the time. He placed the car in the vicinity at 9:30 in the evening, an hour later than Hennessy's observation. Moreover, Greer did not recall seeing anyone entering or exiting the Doyle residence. Detective Alison Mills took these discrepancies seriously, noting in her case notes the difficulty of relying on eyewitness accounts given the varying conditions of visibility and potential bias. To corroborate these statements, Detective Mills reviewed surveillance footage from a nearby convenience store on Maple Street, which captured a portion of Birch Avenue. However, the footage showed only fleeting glimpses of a vehicle resembling a sedan passing by at around 8:15 in the evening, not providing a definitive answer to the discrepancies in witnesses' testimonies. Further inconsistencies arose in interviews with the Doyles' immediate neighbors, the Harrisons, who lived next door. On March the 29th, Jennifer Harrison recounted hearing what sounded like a heated argument coming from the direction of the Doyles' backyard at approximately 9 o'clock on the night in question. Her husband, Robert Harrison, corroborated this, describing the voices as a male and female, though neither could make out specific words. The Greenfield Police Department found no signs of disturbance in the backyard during their initial forensic sweep, leaving the source of the argument unidentified. In an attempt to piece together Karen Doyle's final movements, Detective Mills also examined her phone records once more, focusing on her communications on March the 24th. The records revealed a 5-minute call to a local number at 7:30 in the evening. The number was traced to a prepaid mobile phone purchased 2 months earlier from a Greenfield electronics store by an individual using the alias Mark Johnson. Despite attempts to locate the phone or its user, the trail went cold, adding another layer of mystery to the case. As the investigation progressed, Detective Mills received information from a tip line established shortly after the discovery of Karen's body. One call, received on April the 2nd, offered a potential sighting. A woman named Elaine Carter claimed to have seen Karen Doyle at a diner called Perkins Place on Route 42, accompanied by a man matching the description provided by Margaret Hennessy. Carter, a waitress at the diner, remembered serving the pair coffee at around 6 in the evening on March 24th. She described Karen as appearing agitated, frequently checking her phone during their visit. Carter's account contradicted Karen's known whereabouts, which placed her at home until later that evening. However, Detective Mills noted that Carter's description of Karen's clothing matched what had been found in the master bedroom, adding some credence to her statement. Despite this potential lead, further inquiries yielded no additional sightings or evidence linking Karen's visit to the diner with her murder. In an effort to identify the unknown man, Detective Mills turned to the forensic evidence collected from the Doyle residence. Of particular interest were the unidentified fingerprints found on the ceramic vase, the presumed murder weapon. On April 4th, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation conducted an extensive search through national databases, but the prints yielded no matches. Similarly, DNA samples collected from the long, dark hair found in the master bedroom failed to identify any known individuals. The case took another turn when Detective Mills received an anonymous letter on April 11th, postmarked from Columbus. The letter contained a single line: "Check with MK." Investigations into the cryptic message led nowhere. No records of an individual with the initials MK associated with Karen Doyle or her family were found, leaving investigators frustrated and without new avenues to pursue. Familial interviews continued to present challenges. Michael Doyle, Karen's estranged husband, remained a person of interest. Despite the lack of physical evidence directly implicating him, several acquaintances had noted the tense relationship between the couple. However, Michael's alibi, verified by digital records and eyewitness accounts, placed him in Columbus at the time of the murder, complicating efforts to establish a motive or opportunity. As the investigation stalled, the Greenfield Police Department faced mounting pressure from the community and media. The Greenfield Gazette published a series of articles questioning the department's competence, further increasing the urgency to solve the case. Despite exhaustive efforts, the murder of Karen Doyle remained unsolved. Her story another tragic chapter in the annals of Greenfield's history. With each new lead fading into ambiguity, the community continued to grapple with unanswered questions. hoping that time might eventually reveal the truth. On May 20th, 2019, exactly 2 months after the murder of Karen Doyle, the Greenfield Police Department announced an unexpected development in the case during a press briefing. Detective Alison Mills detailed that new evidence had emerged from a re-examination of the crime scene at 543 Birch Avenue. A small metallic button was found lodged beneath the baseboard in the corner of the master bedroom. Forensic analysis would later identify it as part of a custom military-style jacket, a detail that had not been noted in the initial investigation. The button became a focal point as detectives sought to trace its origin. According to Detective Mills, the button's unique design provided a promising lead in narrowing down potential suspects. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was tasked with analyzing the fabric attached to the button and consulting with manufacturers in the area. Meanwhile, detectives canvassed local military surplus stores for any record of individuals purchasing similar jackets in the months leading up to the murder. On June 2, 2019, a potential breakthrough came when a store clerk from Greenfield Army and Navy, an Army surplus store on Main Street, recalled selling a similar jacket to a man matching the general description of the tall individual seen near 543 Birch Avenue on March 24th. The clerk, identified as Samuel Porter, provided a detailed description of the buyer to a police sketch artist. His recollection was corroborated by a receipt found in the store's transaction records dated March 5, 2019. Despite this promising lead, the progress stalled as no match was found for the sketch among known associates of Karen Doyle or in any criminal databases. Surveillance footage from the vicinity of the store was inconclusive, according to Detective Mills, and failed to capture the face of the individual due to poor visibility. In parallel, the Greenfield Gazette reported on June 10, 2019, that Melissa Taylor, a close friend of Karen, had come forward with new information. According to Taylor, Karen had mentioned feeling uneasy about a man she'd seen frequently near her workplace, the Greenfield Community Bank, in the weeks before her death. Karen reportedly described the man as hovering near the entrance but did not provide further details that could concretely identify him. In an effort to verify Taylor's account, detectives reviewed security footage from the bank. On June 15, 2019, they noted a shadowy figure loitering near the entrance on multiple occasions. However, the grainy quality of the tapes prevented a positive identification. Detective Mills emphasized in a subsequent interview that all efforts to enhance the footage and obtain a clear image have so far been unsuccessful. The case encountered another barrier in early July when the Greenfield Police Department acknowledged a setback in DNA analysis. While the earlier examination of the crime scene had isolated a partial DNA sample on the ceramic vase used in the assault, attempts to match the sample to any known profiles proved inconclusive. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation issued a statement on July 8, 2019, confirming that the sample was degraded beyond the point of yielding a full profile. Despite this, they continued efforts to refine testing techniques that might eventually produce better results. As the investigation progressed, public interest waned. However, the local community remained engaged through a series of articles in the Greenfield Gazette, which highlighted discrepancies in the case. On July 20, 2019, an anonymous letter was received by the Gazette's editorial office. The letter, written in block letters, claimed knowledge of the perpetrator's identity and provided specific details about Karen's movements on March 24th that had not been publicly released. The letter was turned over to the Greenfield Police Department for further analysis. Forensic linguists were brought in to examine the letter, hoping to uncover clues about the author's identity. The investigation revealed notable linguistic patterns that suggested the writer was likely a male, possibly with a background in law enforcement or the military, due to the tone and terminology used in the letter. As summer turned to fall, Detective Mills focused on unidentified fingerprints found at the scene. On September 3, 2019, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation confirmed that these prints did not match any of the known individuals associated with the case. Furthermore, a request to digitize the investigation into the national database remained pending due to backlogs, delaying potential identification. On October 12, 2019, The Greenfield Police Department issued another call to action during a televised town hall meeting, asking anyone with information to come forward. Police Chief Harold Lawson stated, "Every piece of information, no matter how small, is crucial in solving the murder of Karen Doyle." Despite these efforts, the investigation into Karen Doyle's murder has yet to yield any definitive suspects or motives. As of November 2019, detectives remain at an impasse, with leads growing colder and public interest dwindling. The case continues to be a topic of local speculation and sorrow, symbolizing a community's struggle for closure. On January 21, 2020, nearly a year after Karen Doyle's murder, the case files were revisited by Detective Alison Mills of the Greenfield Police Department. A cold case review was prompted after an anonymous caller left a message on the department's tip line claiming new information. The call, received at 11:30 that morning, was traced to a payphone located outside a convenience store on Route 17. The voice on the other end, described as male and middle-aged, suggested that investigators should look into Karen's connection with a local business known as Davis Hardware. Davis Hardware, owned by Eric Davis, is situated on the corner of Chestnut Street, just a short walk from Karen's residence at 543 Birch Avenue. Store records indicated that Karen had been a frequent customer. According to an employee, Jessica Monroe, Karen was last seen purchasing a set of locks and a flashlight on March the 20th, just days before her death. Detective Mills requested sales receipts and surveillance footage from the store for further examination. The footage confirmed Karen's visit on the 12th of March 2019, but the specific transaction highlighted by the caller could not be verified due to missing footage. A second tip, received 2 weeks later on February 3rd, pointed investigators toward a local mechanic, Raymond Fletcher, who had reportedly worked on Karen's vehicle in the weeks leading up to her murder. Interviewed by law enforcement on February 10th, Fletcher recalled replacing the brake pads and repairing a faulty headlight on Karen's dark blue sedan. He stated that Karen seemed anxious during their interactions, frequently looking over her shoulder and checking her phone. Fletcher's account raised suspicions, but yielded no concrete evidence. In March, Detective Mills revisited another lead involving a metallic button found at the crime scene, originally believed to belong to a military-style jacket. Initial inquiries at Greenfield Army and Navy had failed to produce a match, but Mills expanded the search to include similar stores in neighboring counties. At Lockwood Surplus, in Clinton County, a store manager, Stephen Rourke, identified the button as a design exclusive to a limited run of jackets manufactured for an Army reunion in 2018. Only 50 jackets had been sold, each accompanied by a certificate of authenticity. The Greenfield Police Department obtained the list of purchasers, but found no immediate connections to Karen Doyle. Further examination of Karen's financial records revealed consistent monthly cash withdrawals from an ATM located inside the Greenfield Community Bank, each totaling $400. The withdrawals began in January 2019 and ended abruptly in March, shortly before her death. Surveillance footage confirmed Karen as the individual making the withdrawals. Detective Mills hypothesized these transactions might indicate repayment of a personal debt or hush money, yet no further evidence could corroborate this theory. In April, an extensive review of phone records re-emphasized Karen's frequent communications with a contact saved under the name MK. The number, traced to a burner phone, had been deactivated shortly after Karen's murder. Attempting to identify MK, investigators contacted Harrison McGill, a former acquaintance of Karen's with the same initials. McGill, however, provided a solid alibi and denied any recent contact with Karen. On April the 25th, an unexpected development arose when a letter addressed to the Greenfield Gazette was delivered anonymously. The letter claimed to be written by someone with knowledge of the murder, stating, "The truth about Karen Doyle's death is hidden in plain sight." Forensic linguists analyzed the handwriting and linguistic style, but no definitive matches were found. The content of the letter was cryptic, providing no direct leads or actionable information. Harold Lawson, the police chief, confirmed during a press conference on May the 2nd that the letter's origins were under investigation, but urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities. As the investigation progressed into the summer months, another potential clue emerged. Detective Mills received an email from a private investigator named Daniel Brooks, who offered information suggesting Karen was involved in a community advocacy group focused on tenant rights. The group, known as the Greenfield Collective, had been actively opposing a series of evictions planned by a local real estate developer. Interviews with group members revealed Karen's participation in a meeting held on March 15th, where she reportedly expressed concerns about escalating tensions with the developer's representatives. Although the developer, Richard Howe Properties, denied any involvement or knowledge of the murder, the connection added another layer of complexity to the case. By the fall of 2020, despite the surge in new information, Karen Doyle's murder remained unsolved. The case file, swollen with evidence, statements, and unanswered questions, was kept open by the Greenfield Police Department. Detective Mills, committed to uncovering the truth, continued to pursue every lead and review any material that might bring closure to Karen's family and the Greenfield community. Yet, as autumn faded, the shadow of uncertainty still loomed large over the events of that March night, leaving a community in search of answers and a family without justice. In the wake of Karen Doyle's murder and the exhaustive investigation that followed, the case remained unresolved. Detectives and analysts had combed through multiple leads and evidence, yet a definitive conclusion continued to elude them. Detective Alison Mills and her team at the Greenfield Police Department established a range of hypotheses, each one confronting contradictions and new questions. One hypothesis proposed that an intruder had entered 543 Birch Avenue with the intent to rob, encountering Karen Doyle unexpectedly. According to the evidence log, a ceramic vase was identified as the murder weapon, linking the blunt force trauma that led to Karen's death. However, no items of significant value had been reported stolen from the residence. The jewelry found in the master bedroom remained untouched, adding a layer of uncertainty to the burglary hypothesis. Another line of inquiry focused on personal relationships. The detectives looked into recent interactions Karen had with friends, family, and acquaintances. The database of phone records from the weeks leading up to the incident revealed frequent communication with a contact saved under the alias MK. Despite attempts to trace the identity of MK, the individual remained unidentified. Detective Mills mentioned in a press briefing on June 25, 2019, that the alias presented a perplexing element, citing, "The alias complicates our ability to fully understand the nature of these exchanges." The discovery of a metallic button at the crime scene added another dimension to the investigation. Forensic analysis conducted by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation linked this button to military-style outerwear. The Greenfield Army and Navy store confirmed a similar batch of buttons was sold in the weeks prior to the murder. Despite extensive cross-referencing of store records and surveillance footage, no definitive connection was established between the button and a suspect. Samuel Porter, the store owner, remarked during an interview on July 15, 2019, "We sell hundreds of these jackets. It's nearly impossible to track who purchased what." The investigation also examined anonymous tips received through the police tip line. One such tip, received on April 2, 2019, suggested sightings of a tall man in a dark sedan frequently parked near 543 Birch Avenue. Surveillance footage partially corroborated this claim, capturing a similar vehicle in the vicinity, yet the license plate was obscured. Follow-up inquiries failed to identify the vehicle's owner or confirm its relevance to the case. In the following months, an anonymous letter was received by the Greenfield Gazette, further complicating the investigation. Postmarked from Cincinnati, the letter alluded to involvement by a person named Mark Johnson, a name previously flagged in phone records analysis. Forensic linguists analyzing the letter noted its distinct phrasing and consistent linguistic patterns, but were unable to conclusively link it to any known individual associated with the case. With each investigative avenue, new questions emerged. The DNA analysis of the unidentified fingerprints found at the crime scene was inconclusive, with no matches in the national criminal databases. Further complicating matters, the men's size 10 footprints discovered did not correspond to any individuals known to be associated with Karen. Despite these forensic efforts, essential pieces of the puzzle remained missing. On November 12, 2019, Detective Mills led a televised town hall meeting, aiming to engage the public in generating new leads. During the meeting, Michael Doyle, Karen's brother, made an emotional plea for any information that could shed light on his sister's death. "We need closure," he stated. "Someone out there knows something, and we urge them to come forward." By early 2020, the investigation had intersected with the activities of the Greenfield Collective, a local grassroots organization known for its advocacy on unresolved cases. Daniel Brooks, a spokesperson for the group, emphasized during a press conference on February 3, 2020, "Our community deserves answers. We're committed to supporting law enforcement in their pursuit of justice for Karen." As the case unfolded, a new focus emerged on the broader context of Karen's life. Interviews with colleagues revealed her recent involvement in a community outreach program at the Greenfield Community Bank. Co-worker Leah Johnson noted during an interview on April 25, 2020, that Karen had been instrumental in organizing a neighborhood watch initiative. "She was passionate about making Greenfield safer," Johnson recalled. Despite these efforts, the investigation struggled to advance beyond preliminary theories and unverified leads. The metallic button, the alias MK, and the dark sedan each served as persistent enigmas in a case fraught with complexities. As Police Chief Harold Lawson remarked during a May 2, 2020 press conference, "Every discovery brings us closer, but the path forward is layered with uncertainties." With the passage of time, public interest in the case ebbed and flowed. Articles in the Greenfield Gazette continued to chronicle the investigation's challenges and the community's resilience. Yet for those directly affected, the lack of resolution remained an ever-present reality. The questions surrounding Karen Doyle's murder, despite exhaustive investigation and community involvement, continued to outnumber the answers. In the weeks following the initial investigation into Karen Doyle's murder, the Greenfield community gradually came to terms with the unsettling reality that, despite the efforts of law enforcement, her killer remained at large. This sense of unease was palpable at the Greenfield Community Hall, where on June 15, 2019, a town meeting was held to address the concerns of residents. Over 150 community members attended, voicing fears and frustrations to town officials and law enforcement representatives. Detective Allison Mills, lead investigator on the case, addressed the gathering. According to minutes recorded by the Greenfield town clerk, Mills reiterated that all leads were being pursued diligently and thanked the community for its ongoing cooperation. Despite this reassurance, a sentiment of unease lingered, as voiced by a resident, Thomas Fuller, who publicly questioned the safety measures being taken and the effectiveness of the investigation. Fuller's statement, documented in the Greenfield Gazette's June 17th issue, captured the community's growing anxiety. "How can we feel safe when no one knows who did this?" In late June, Greenfield Police established a community safety initiative, increasing patrols around schools and public parks. Officer Julia Zamora, a spokesperson for the initiative, explained in an interview with the Greenfield Daily News that the goal was to restore community confidence and to provide a visible police presence. Zamora noted that the initiative was not just about prevention, but about fostering communication between law enforcement and residents. Meanwhile, the impact of Karen Doyle's unsolved murder extended into the local schools. Greenfield High School, where Karen's daughter, Emily Doyle, was a sophomore, implemented additional counseling services for students struggling with the ongoing investigation. School counselor Nancy Lawrence was quoted in the July edition of the Greenfield School Bulletin, stating, "The students are processing a lot of fear and uncertainty. It's important they have a space to talk about their feelings." The murder investigation also saw the formation of a community-led group, Justice for Karen. Founded by Greenfield resident and family friend Claire Thompson, the group organized monthly vigils and distributed flyers, urging anyone with information to come forward. On July 20th, 2019, Justice for Karen held a rally at the Greenfield Town Square. According to the Greenfield Gazette, over 200 residents attended, many holding signs with messages such as "Bring justice to Karen" and "Silence helps no one." Amidst these public efforts, the investigation itself continued with help from external agencies. In early August, the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation released an updated composite sketch based on witness descriptions gathered in previous interviews. According to a press release, the sketch depicted a man believed to have been seen near 543 Birch Avenue on the night of the murder. This development was covered widely by local media, including a segment by regional news station WKRC, which broadcasted images of the sketch during prime time. Further complicating matters, an anonymous tip received on August 15th led investigators to a previously unexamined location, the Greenfield Motel on Route 17. Detective Mills and her team, accompanied by a forensic unit, conducted a search of room 204, where various items were collected for analysis. Among these items was a nondescript black duffel bag containing receipts from a nearby convenience store dated March 23, 2019. This find was documented in detail in the August 21st edition of the Greenfield Gazette, though its connection to Karen Doyle's murder remained speculative. Late August brought another layer of complexity when an out-of-state witness came forward. Rachel Simmons, a resident of Louisville, Kentucky, contacted the Greenfield police with information about a potential sighting of a suspect. Simmons, who had been visiting family in Greenfield during March, claimed to have seen a man matching the composite sketch at a local gas station on March the 24th. She described the man as nervous and in a hurry. Her statement was officially recorded by the Greenfield police and corroborated by security footage provided by the gas station owner. Despite these developments, the case persisted without resolution as the year wore on. By autumn, community efforts to keep the case in the public eye intensified. On September the 15th, Justice for Karen organized a charity walk with proceeds donated to local organizations supporting victims of crime. According to Claire Thompson, the event served dual purposes, honoring Karen's memory and emphasizing the community's demand for justice. As the investigation stretched into October, the community's focus shifted slightly, with renewed interest in a series of burglaries reported in the vicinity of Birch Avenue. Detective Mills confirmed in an October 2nd press conference that while there was no direct evidence linking these incidents to Karen Doyle's murder, all possibilities were being explored. This statement was noted in the Greenfield Gazette's October 3rd issue, which highlighted the potential for connections between local crimes. By the year's end, the investigation's progress was sparse, yet the community remained resolute in its quest for answers. On November the 15th, a candlelight vigil was held at Karen Doyle's grave, attended by friends, family, and community members. The event was covered by the Greenfield Gazette, which described the gathering as a poignant reminder of both hope and heartache. Throughout 2019 and into 2020, the legacy of Karen Doyle's unsolved murder continued to reverberate within Greenfield. The impact on her family, friends, and community was profound as the search for answers went on. The Greenfield community, though grappling with uncertainty, maintained its commitment to seeking justice for Karen Doyle, with the hope that someday both truth and closure would be achieved. As of October 2023, the investigation into the murder of Karen Doyle remains active, with the Greenfield Police Department, led by Detective Allison Mills, continuing to seek new leads. On September the 1st, 2023, Detective Mills announced in a press conference at the Greenfield Town Hall that the department had received over 1,000 tips since the case was first opened, yet none had led to a definitive suspect. According to Mills, several promising leads have been investigated, but each has ultimately reached a dead end. Recent efforts have focused on re-examining the evidence collected from the Doyle residence at 543 Birch Avenue. Forensic specialists from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation have been working alongside the Greenfield Police Department to reanalyze the unidentified fingerprints found at the scene. Dr. Lin Nguyen, a forensic analyst, stated in a report dated August 22, 2023 that improved technology could potentially identify the prints that have eluded classification thus far. Additionally, the men's size 10 footprints found near the rear entrance of the Doyle home have been re-examined. In September of 2022, a new team from the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation performed an in-depth analysis using enhanced imaging techniques. However, as stated in a report filed by Dr. Nguyen, the results were inconclusive. The prints did not match any known suspects or individuals in national databases. In an unexpected development, a resident of Greenfield, Victor Summers, came forward in July 2023, claiming to have seen a man matching the description of the tall figure spotted in the vicinity of Birch Avenue on the night of March 24, 2019. Summers approached Detective Mills with this information during a community policing event. According to his statement, Summers observed the man loitering near the Greenfield Community Bank in late March 2019, shortly before Karen Doyle's murder. Detective Mills assigned Officer Julia Zamora to investigate this lead further. Despite Officer Zamora's best efforts, including reviewing security footage from local businesses, no additional evidence was found to corroborate Summers's claim. The investigation has also included a comprehensive review of Karen Doyle's digital communications. According to Detective Mills, the analysis of Doyle's emails, conducted by cybersecurity specialist Ian Walters in March 2023, revealed a series of correspondence with an unknown individual using the alias MK. These exchanges, made from an encrypted email service, indicated that Doyle may have been involved in some undisclosed personal or financial matter. Walters noted that while the messages appeared cryptic, they implied a level of familiarity and urgency. Efforts to trace the origin of these emails have so far been unsuccessful. In an effort to generate new leads, the Greenfield Police Department reopened the public tip line on October 1, 2023. Detective Mills, in a televised appeal, encouraged anyone with information, no matter how minor it may seem, to come forward. The department has also announced a renewed partnership with the Ohio Crime Stoppers, offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in the case. Furthermore, the case has attracted the attention of several private investigative firms. In June 2023, the Doyle family enlisted the services of Whitehaven Investigations, a Cincinnati-based private detective agency. According to a statement from the Doyle family's attorney, Michael Gaines, Whitehaven Investigations will independently review all aspects of the case. Lead investigator Sarah Cummings has already begun conducting interviews with individuals linked to the case, including former bank colleagues of Karen Doyle and acquaintances from her volunteer work at the Greenfield Community Center. Public interest in the case remains high, with local media covering any developments with keen attention. The Greenfield Gazette, having reported on the case from the beginning, published a retrospective piece in August 2023, highlighting the community's continued demand for justice. In the article, editor Richard Howard emphasized the ongoing community engagement initiatives established in Doyle's memory, such as the annual charity walk held each September. As the investigation progresses, Detective Mills and her team remain committed to bringing closure to Karen Doyle's family. The Greenfield Police Department continues to work closely with state and federal agencies to explore every possible avenue. However, as of now, no new arrests have been made, and the case remains unsolved. The complexity of the case is compounded by the numerous theories that have circulated both within law enforcement and among the public, from potential connections to organized crime, to the possibility of a personal vendetta. Each hypothesis is scrutinized. Yet none have definitively explained the circumstances of Doyle's death. Detective Mills has expressed her determination to pursue all possibilities, acknowledging during an interview with WCBN News in September 2023 the frustration of having a plethora of leads but no concrete answers. As the 4-year anniversary of Karen Doyle's murder approaches, the case continues to weigh heavily on the community and her family. While resolutions remain elusive, the ongoing investigation maintains its momentum, driven by new techniques, fresh insights, and the unwavering resolve of those seeking justice for Karen Doyle.